would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the answers you give the court to this line of questioning will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Silverberg.
Good morning, Your Honor. Ian Silverberg, alternate public defender office president.
All right, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Handte. All right. This is the continued hearing on the GPS monitor unable to pay part of this case. Mr. Handte is currently out of custody, being supervised. Just to set the tempo, he's had the GPS monitor, was unable to continue to pay for it. I believe it was Intercept over at DAS that cut him off because he was into them about $3,000 or a little bit more than that. He came over here. They were willing to work with him, but he needed to pay. He paid for a while, but now he has stopped. I didn't remand him for violating his pretrial release pending this hearing. I encouraged him to file an under oath declaration, financial statement, something that would indicate his income and outcome, outgo, and also I was hoping to get something about his net worth, if he had assets. I see that recently was filed a confidential submission. It contained two pieces. The first was a financial component. The second piece had to do with his prior counsel, Kozak and Associates.
Filed in there.
Okay, all right, so I'm going to ignore that. With respect to the financial piece, using a form that's usually used to waive fees, but it did identify to the court total income for Mr. Handte, and then generally his most significant expenses. I don't know anything about what assets he might have and how available they would be to turn into cash in some way, shape, or form. I do note here that he's paying a considerable amount for car insurance. Seems to the court it's for at least more than one vehicle. Trial is in 2 months. Almost exactly 60 days from now, our trial begins. I have no interest in having Mr. Handte spend those next 2 months in the Washoe County Jail. That said, I don't generally make exceptions from one person on the way the court approaches pretrial release, because it could potentially have an adverse ripple effect in other matters. I went back and reviewed Judge Simon's order. One district court judge cannot overrule another district court judge's order. She was pretty clear on what she expected back from her order in October. Now, the reason I would take a look at it is, in the court's estimation, it always has inherent authority if circumstances have changed to take another look at things. So what I was hoping to hear is, does Mr. Handte have the ability for the next 2 months to pay for the GPS monitor at about $300 a month for the next 2 months? Pending that, there may be little recourse for the court other than to remand him for failing his pretrial release. Mr. Silverberg, what's your position?
Well, Your Honor, we provided the financial declaration. Mr. Handte filled that out. He does not have assets. He continues to look for work.
Well, it doesn't say that under oath. It doesn't say I don't have something worth $5, $10, $20, $50, $100,000. If I put him under oath and he swears to that, that might be a horse of a different color.
I would welcome that, Your Honor.
Okay, let's assume I do that and it's consistent with what you suggest. And what would you have the court do without sort of setting a precedent for other people that are unable to pay for a GPS monitoring pending a case? Also, I would just say this, it's not lost on the court that there have been resolution discussions here, and so, I'm not pushing anybody to do something they don't want to do, but I'm generally aware of the nature of the claims and the background story here. That's all a factor with respect to the nature of the charges here.
So
anyway,
what I would
go ahead.
add, Your Honor, is since the GPS monitor has been inactivated due to non-payment, there have been no problems with Mr. Handte. He's compliant with pretrial services. All he's really doing is trying to find work and focusing on work and making his monthly payments. He has not left the jurisdiction. He has not confronted anybody that he's not supposed to confront. I think the court does have authority to make that change. This entire case is now in front of the court, and to look at the changed circumstances that relate to his financial condition. And that would not be a basis, Your Honor, I don't believe alone, to remand him. He's in compliance other than the financial component, which he cannot pay. He's trying very hard to find work. He tells me about it all the time. He's interviews. This is not somebody who's letting the grass grow under his feet. He's trying very hard. Odd jobs, side jobs, looking for gainful employment, and otherwise fully in compliance. It's not a flight risk. He's, as Your Honor knows, very much intends to defend these claims against him and to clear his name.
Okay. Mr. Handte, I want to ask you some questions about not just your income and how much your expenses are, but your net worth, the total of all your assets minus any loans or liens against them, equity in the property you own, boats, cars, watches, coin collection, guns. I mean, so, but hold on, but you're gonna have to answer those questions under oath if I'm gonna consider that as a factor to change your custody status. Be prepared to answer those questions? All right, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the answers you give the court to this line of questioning will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. So what would you estimate your net worth to be? The value of all the stuff you own minus any loans you have against your stuff? And you can give me a range. Is it, let's start with, is it more than $25,000?
No.
Is it more than $10,000?
No,
Thank you. You've answered my questions. Have you been staying in Washoe County?
I have, sir.
Have you been checking in person in the courthouse?
I have.
Any issues that you have encountered in being supervised?
No, Mr. Meredith asked me to do what I did. In fact, I've actually text messaged him to say I've been here, there, going home, going to work, trying to find a job, etc.
Okay, got it. Anything else you want the court to consider before I hear from Mr. Stege?
No, that's pretty much it. I
Okay.
have pretty much nothing for assets.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Stege, state's position, please.
So I don't see broken down here, it's very gross, sort of assessment of his assets. I don't see the.
Well, again, this isn't assets, this is income,
Income.
and this is outflow.
Right, very gross, right, like, we know he has a pension. We also know that he's been paying up until now, right, so if we talk about changing circumstances, what is that?
Well, let me stop you there. It's, let's say rough ballpark, $300 a month. To
Right,
get into the last entity, $3,000, that's about 10 months of not paying. It's not as though this was a sudden thing. It's a thing going on, just really came under the court's radar lately. Please
right,
continue.
but it's paying nothing, right, so the state has a hard time believing that he can't make payments or he can't be, come into compliance in some way, make a good faith effort. And I would highlight for the court, for example, he blames the court for his joblessness, right? I mean, you have to consider whether he's making a good faith effort and whether
That's
he
how this,
doesn't
based on the
want
court's
to.
rulings, right?
Yeah, it's like, due to the court's actions, I mean, it's due to his own actions, like, he's known that he has to be on GPS. Now, it is pointed out that he's been compliant since he just stopped paying and they stopped, being able to deal with it. We don't know that, and that's the entire point of GPS. The court is well aware of this man's history of skirting this court's orders. And my position is he should be on GPS monitored. We've had more hearings on this sort of subject than on substantive matters related to this trial. And that is because of either, I think it's obstinance, Judge, not wanting to pay, not an inability to pay. I have pretrial services here today. I am willing to call them, and I think they are willing to work with him if he makes good faith efforts at making routine payments.
In some amount.
In some amount, and I think we don't even know that to this, as we sit here today, whether he was paying and just never paid, or he was making monthly payments and he got tired of it. Given their willingness to work with him, the court should order him to go to pretrial GPS monitoring and make good faith payments to them at, I would say, $100 a month. The court noted his car insurance seems high, other things. It's hard to believe he can't squeeze out $100 for this very important pretrial release condition.
Then at trial, have it removed every morning?
Yeah,
he comes to court without that, then go back downstairs, put it back on at the end of the trial every day, and then shampoo, rinse, repeat.
Yeah, I think we're all mostly interested in him showing up to trial like the first day. You know, in trial, I think there's a lot of room for reasonable accommodations or changes to that condition. Because, right, we really want him to show up to trial. Of course, defendants have a right to abscond themselves from the remainder of trial, which does happen, but I think that's sort of an argument for another day. The state's immediate concern is he's not paying, they stop monitoring him. That important condition based on sort of threats, you know, based on his behavior is not being monitored. So.
Okay, I understand the state's position. Mr. Silverberg, last
Your Honor,
comment.
our last hearing that the state put up somebody from DAS, and it said it's basically in their sole discretion whether to accept payments, how far to let it go. And they were done working with Mr. Handte, so I don't know that it's as easy as, because there are these other organizations that handle it. If it's that easy, that's great, but he doesn't even have the $100. This is a man who's had to go to the food bank to get sustenance, so he's trying very hard. But this is not something that he would rather be out looking for work right now. This is not something, he's not trying to pull one over on the court or mess with the system. This is a real situation for him.
Well, I'm not suggesting it's not.
I know you're not, Your Honor, but the state is.
Well,
I'm not.
they have a different view of things, and that's one of the reasons we're having this hearing. I'd like to know from pretrial services what their level of financial tolerance would be in the circumstances.
I'm sorry, DAS, Judge.
I beg your pardon.
DAS.
It's DAS, if they would. Welcome back. Come on. Would you mind taking the witness stand, please? Yes, please take the witness.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. Please have a seat. Officer, we saw you last hearing. Would you please, though, tell us your name, and I remind you, you're now again under oath. Okay,
My name's Officer Donnet.
thank you. So go ahead, Mr. Stege, you can ask him a few questions.
Since the last hearing, have you spoken with your chain of command about payments by Mr. Handte?
Yes.
And what have you learned, or what can you report to the court?
We're willing to forego that initial large payment. I believe we discussed last time, the 1/3 of his current balance. And just hope that he, in good faith, continues to try and pay down his balance.
And has he been paying down his balance over the last couple of months?
I'm not sure.
But DAS is willing to work with him as long as he makes good faith
Yes,
and monitor him.
correct.
Thank you. Mr. Silverberg.
If his best good faith efforts are that he doesn't have the money to pay, you're going to continue to work with him through trial?
Yes.
No further questions?
Okay, thank you. The court doesn't have any. Thank you for your testimony. And make sure I heard that right. They will continue to work with him pending trial. Even if his face-to-face efforts are, I have nothing.
That's why I asked it, Your Honor.
All right, it's the order of the court then that Mr. Handte, no later than this time tomorrow, you have the GPS monitor put back on by DAS, and you pay what you can on a weekly basis. No, on a monthly basis, you pay what you can in good faith, based on any money you have left over after you tend to your basic needs.
So I think the one that he has now is through Intercept. Correct.
That one can come off
Wonderful.
and go have it replaced by this time tomorrow by DAS.
Thank you so much, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Now, one more thing. Do we have a pretrial conference set before our upcoming trial in January? If not, I want to make sure we have one. We have a few matters to discuss.
I'm not sure if we do.
I'm not sure if we do.
I would prefer, Your Honor, just given my trial schedule, that we be able to set that with your clerk.
Okay, what I'll do is, I will have my court clerk reach out to you two Mr. Hilligus, and we will set a pretrial conference to go over any last-minute issues with respect to the upcoming trial.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Mr. Handte, Mr. Silverberg, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
You as well.
Mr. Stege, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.